Well, mistakes doomed the Tampa Bay Lightning in what wound up being a wild 5-4 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll break it down on today's Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday and welcome to Locked On Lightning. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And we want to begin this Friday show with a shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day every single day. On today's show, an absolutely asinine game ends with the Bolts just coming short of pulling off a come-from-behind win against the Hurricanes. We'll talk about what went wrong in this one, including a couple of huge mistakes that really opened the door for the Canes in this one. Plus, no rust for the Bolts, taking on another hot team in the Buffalo Sabres tomorrow, and it could feature the return of Anthony Cirelli. We'll talk about how he factors into the game. A lot to get to. Before we begin today's show, want to mention it's sponsored by FanDuel. Right now, you can use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. I'm your host for Locked On Lightning, Nick Morgan, and I am joined by the Jesse Pinkman to my Walter White, Greg Steven. Greg, be honest, man, I have no idea where to begin judging this game last night.
Yeah, there's so much to say, to be honest with you, but happy Friday, because best day of the week. And yeah, what a weird one. Really looked like they were going to get slaughtered, and then
they
became
didn't.
and then it became a really interesting game.
Yeah. Tampa Bay Lightning lose to the Carolina Hurricanes 5-4. A lot that went down in this game. It started with the Bolts going down 3-0 in the first 6 minutes. Then they battle back to tie it. Then the Canes take the lead again. Bolts tie it again, back and forth. And then a goal for the Hurricanes on a, let's just say, an iffy penalty call there on Gage Goncalves, one of the things that we'll be talking about. They deliver the game-winning goal late, and then the Lightning didn't look good in the third period at all in this one, and that's kind of sealed their fate. It was a 5-4 win for the Hurricanes. Greg, let's start off with our one word to describe the game. What word are you going with in this one?
I'm going with sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for a lot of reasons. The first is, wow, they just kind of hung JoJo out to dry in the beginning.
Yeah.
There were just some really bad defensive play. I mean, 2-on-1s, that like guys open right in front of him, just deflecting. It's just terrible. And then you mentioned it already. The third period, just what the heck are they doing? I mean, I know Kucherov is officially recorded with 3 giveaways, but man, that third period. I mean, especially in the last 5 minutes of that third period, I swear he had 10. I hope people go rewatch just the last 5 minutes of that game, because, man, he was just blind passing right to the Hurricanes. Just unbelievable. So just really, really sloppy game from them, I think.
Yeah, you talk about how the Bolts were able to battle back in this game, and they kind of fought through some really bad stretches of play, and then looked like they were on the front foot for a long time. That third period, though, that's kind of what makes it so disappointing, Greg, because it seemed like a little bit of a throwback to the beginning of the game where they just couldn't get the puck out of the zone. They were being careless with the puck. And it's a little disheartening because, you're down late. That's when you're supposed to turn it on. That's when the Tampa Bay Lightning are supposed to be like the super sharp team that is able to kind of get their game going. And it didn't happen in this game. It was kind of the opposite that happened.
Yeah, and I had said it yesterday. You gotta play the full 60 to beat the Hurricanes, and
they certainly did not.
No, but it looked like they were going to, right? Because they were down 3-0, and once they started notching some goals, I was like, okay, they're still here. They're breathing life back into this game. And then, yeah, the end of that third, man, just tough to watch.
A little bit rough. You thought they were going to play better coming from behind there. Greg, my one word to describe the game is circus. Because the entire time this game was going on, I had just going on in my ear. Like it was just insane to watch. And even like breaking down sort of the points I want to talk about, it's like I don't know where to begin, because I feel like you gotta give the Bolts credit for fighting back a few different times in this game. They did fall over when they went down 3-0. They kept the fight up until the very end. But at the same time, there's a lot of low lows in this game, a lot of bad turnovers, some critical mistakes, guys that were being in the wrong place at the wrong time that directly led to a couple of goals. And it's tough to judge a little bit, because you saw, I think, a lot of things in this game that you would credit the Lightning for. But I think you also saw a lot of this, a lot of things in this game that you point at and be like, this is not good hockey.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, I'd love to hear some of the ones you have, but
yeah,
for me, it's the turnovers are brutal. 20 of them is just oof.
Well, there's a couple that I called out specifically. One was the Lightning completely getting caught out of position, pinching too hard on a 2-on-1 that led to the Canes' third goal. And then the big one to me was the goal that made it 4-3 for the Hurricanes, late in the second period, where you had multiple people botch a chance to get the puck out of the zone. And the Canes made them pay on that one. So for me, it was those were the two that I think directly led to a goal. But there's some others, a bad turnover in the third period, and JoJo had to make a really good save. So it was, two that directly led to a goal, but that's the difference right there. Two sloppy plays, and that wound up being the tying and winning goal for Carolina.
Yeah, I feel really bad for JoJo, because this is a 5-goal game is tough as a goaltender, and it sucks because he had such a long break and he hasn't played in a while, and you finally get in there and your team kind of leaves you up to some 2-on-0, 2-on-1s in the beginning, and it was just brutal. I really am sad for JoJo, because I don't think he played poorly by any means.
I was going to ask, do you think this is a lot of those early goals were just bad performance from JoJo, or are you kind of blaming this more on he not getting any sort of help in front of him?
Nah, I think maybe one of the ones from the outside, it was like a wrister. I think it was the first or second goal. I could see the argument that maybe he should have stopped that, but outside of that one, man, if you just go rewatch him, there's just guys sitting right in front of him, uncovered. There's one where a guy comes in on a rebound, and I think it's Yanni Gord who could easily lift his stick, but instead, dude's wide open and puts it in. So tough. It's tough to watch, because I don't think it was JoJo. Like I said, I think maybe one of those you could say JoJo, but I don't know, man. I think defensively they just didn't look so great last night.
Yeah, it's a little bit of rough all around, and I'm with you. I think there's a little bit of both. I think JoJo probably could have been better on some of those plays, but I also think the Lightning defense didn't do any favors to help them in this one. More from this game, including a good performance from Jake Guentzel, and we'll break down a little bit more of Kucherov's up and down game in this one. All that coming back when we come back on Locked On Lightning. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Are you going through some workplace chaos right now? Maybe some deadlines stacking up, the inbox overflowing? Might not be the perfect time for you to block time out in your calendar, sit down and interview people for an open position. But when the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's the stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, you can spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Here's something else to help you out. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Again, just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on Locked on Lightning. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you need a hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Today's episode is also brought to you by Factor. Cold days, packed schedules, and big goals. That pretty much sums up winter. When there's not a lot of time to cook, eating, well, it can feel like another thing on the to-do list. That's where Factor comes in. Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs so you can eat well with all the planning, prepping, and cooking. This isn't a TV dinner, folks. Factor meals are always fresh, never frozen, and ready to go in just about 2 minutes. The ingredients stand out. There's lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats, so you know you're having a balanced meal with every bite. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils, plus tons of variety to choose from. There's options like high protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean, GLP-1 support, and even the new Muscle Pro collection for strength and recovery. All part of a menu that includes 100 rotating meals each week, so it never gets boring. It's perfect for those busy weeks when you still want meals that support your goals without the stress. So go to factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50off and use code LockedOnNHL50off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. So eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only. It varies by plan. One free breakfast item per box for a year while your subscription is active. Go to Factor and get your eating goals ready to go. We're back on Locked on Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Steven. And Greg, couple of call-outs in this game before we get to some doom and gloom. Big game for Jake Guentzel last night. 3 assists in this one in just about 22 minutes of ice time. Was a little bit, I would say, in that first game back against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously played a lot of ice time, but a little bit quiet performance from him. So I would say good to see Guentzel last night making an impact on the score sheet.
Yeah. I thought he had a really, really strong game. He's, one of the only 3 Bolts who was positive in this game as well. But yeah, overall he looked pretty strong. Actually, I really appreciated seeing him bounce back because, he was just in the Olympics. So I expected the slow start in the first game, and to see him kind of revitalized in game 2, especially on a back-to-back, pretty impressive.
Yeah, I thought so as well. Greg, who's somebody that you noticed that had a big game last night?
Oh, how about when I said that Dominic James was going to score a goal? I could feel it coming. Dominic James, man, what a shot. I thought he had a solid game. I wish we could see more of him and Gage on the ice, but you know what? I mean, in that first game back, I think they each skated maybe 10 to 11 minutes, and then last night they skated 17 and 15 respectively. So I like that. I like that a lot. I thought both of them had a good game. I thought Gage played well too, actually. He was pretty noticeable and wasn't minus, and I know he didn't have any points, but I thought he was more visible than some of the guys I expected to be better than they were. Like, I don't know. Kucherov didn't have a bad game by any means, but I also don't think it was his best game.
Yeah, we'll hang on a second because I want to talk about Kucherov in a second, but I do want to, Gage Goncalves to me was noticeable, not in a good way though. He did have a lot of turnovers in this game, 3 giveaways. I think he was one of those guys that just routinely kind of made blind passes or, not the best game, I think, for Gage Goncalves, but it is a little bit interesting, Greg. You mentioned it. The ice time we talked about in that Toronto game, it was kind of a little bit wonky at times. You had your kind of main forwards playing like 20 plus minutes a game, and you had defensemen all over the place. Kind of more the same. Kucherov played 25 minutes. And I know it's probably a result of being down late.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's interesting that this is the second game in a row where it seems like ice time's a little hard to come by for some of the depth players. Although I will say it looked a little bit more even last night. Victor Hedman played, close to 15 minutes. You had some, guys like Destu play a little bit less. So I don't know. I'm still kind of in that mood of, I think like we're gonna look at Saturday's game against Buffalo as truly sort of the first. This is what it's gonna look like moving forward game.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. You know what else? We're talking ice time here. Eh, Least ice time on the Bolts for the offense. Oliver Bjorkstrand. Only 13 minutes of
Other than
ice
Scott
time.
Sabarin.
Well, yeah, yes. I'm talking the guys who are consistently in the lineup. 13 minutes for Bjorkstrand. Only 17 shifts. Pretty low. And it's sad. I think we kind of talked about this before the Olympic break. We were a little unsure of what, his role is going to look like moving forward.
Yeah.
And it does kind of seem like it's becoming less and less.
I don't know what Oliver Bjorkstrand's future is, to be honest. I still maintain, and I think it's maybe a little bit different now because of some injuries and everything like that, and Nick Paul's still out of the lineup. But I mean, I said that I thought you could use Oliver Bjorkstrand as a piece in another trade. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen now, as a just because of the way the injuries have come out and who's available on the market still. But I'll just say, Greg, I would be shocked if Oliver Bjorkstrand's on the team next year at this point.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel the same way, and it's sad because I don't even think he's bad or
he's
anything
not bad
like that.
by any means. He's just not really making a positive impact in any sort of way.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of being just not the right fit. And it's weird because I think in some games he looks really good.
Yeah.
But I guess, you look at the rest of the lineup and you're kind of like, maybe he's not one of the better guys on this team. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, wasn't under any illusion to say he's one of the best guys on the team, but you expect
no
role for him, but I don't want to get, too hard on him. Greg, let's go back to talking about Nikita Kucherov real quick in this game, because up and down, it was kind of the full Kucherov experience. I thought he played, some dynamic minutes, some really good passing in this one to set up some good chances. Obviously had the goal to, get the Lightning going. But at the same time, you and I talked about this a little bit earlier, a lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers. And in the third period, when you really need somebody like Kucherov to step up, it just seemed like he was a little bit all over the place and didn't have that sharpness that we saw from him just the other night against Toronto. So yeah, I would argue a little bit disappointing from Kucherov, and kind of, what we saw from him a little bit earlier, where he would make some really good plays, but then come back and, just be off his game a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. He had some really good passing to the other team. And let me tell you, I love when Kucherov makes his superstar passes to guys when he can't even look. We talked about it yesterday. He has the gecko vision, right? He can see everywhere. But sometimes it's almost like he knows that and he gets too carried away, and then he starts trying to make these plays that maybe you should just kind of play a little more fundamental hockey, because I think a lot of his turnovers are him just trying to whip the puck from like a corner or, random spots on the ice where it's like, just sit with the puck for a minute, or maybe play a smarter play off the wall. Just, sometimes I think he gets a little carried away. And last night, especially in the third, it really did feel like he was not playing fundamental, strong hockey. He kind of got away from his game a little bit.
Yeah, I would say so. But, obviously you're going to have, Kucherov as he's Nikita Kucherov, man.
Right. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you're not worried about him in
No.
any way, shape, or form. And it's just kind of one of those rare bad games for him. Greg, there is going to be another game tomorrow, and it's one that they're going to really need Nikita Kucherov to be in the same game for, because the Lightning take on the Buffalo Sabres, one of the other hottest teams in the NHL right now. We'll have a key for that game, plus the return of Anthony Cirelli possibly when we come back. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, if you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, well, we got a deal for you. FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn your finals dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip to 2. We're talking flights, tickets, the whole shebang. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. I love futures this time of year. Whether you're picking a team to win the championship or just grab a conference title, adds a little extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can you win cash for your picks, but you can also go to the NBA Finals. So here's what you do. You visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Again, that's FanDuel.com. You can also download the FanDuel app straight to your phone. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back on Locked on Lightning, Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Steven. Real quick, we are doing something called the Everydayer Club here at Locked on Lightning. And right now, if you join the Everydayer Club for ad-free audio, access to our group chat on Discord, and much, much more, you can use code DEADLINE ahead of the NHL trade deadline for 1 month free. Again, you can join by going to lockedonpodcast.com or hit that link we have in the show notes for you. We would love to see you as part of our Everydayer Club. All right, Greg, no rest for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They take on the Buffalo Sabres tomorrow night. Another big game, Greg, because Buffalo Sabres, well, they're one of the hottest teams in the NHL, right up there along with the Lightning. Another tough test for the Bolts.
Yeah, and an important game. Like you said, Sabres have looked really strong lately. They're 7-2-1 in their last 10. And man, Tage Thompson is tough to stop. And if you play defensively the way you did last night, he's going to burn you. So this is going to be an important one for the Bolts.
What are you seeing as a key to this game?
My biggest key to this game is going to be Vasilevsky, I think. And the reason I say that is because I thought he played pretty well in his first game back, but he did let in a little bit of a fluky one in my eyes. So I'd like to see him just have an overall strong performance. I think they're going to need goaltending in this game to win, especially given the sloppiness in this last game. I think maybe in some of those situations where they need a clutch goalie save, he's got to be there to make it. And I don't think JoJo is to blame for last night by any means, but I think maybe in a couple of those situations, Vasi is that superstar goalie that will kind of rob someone on those 2-on-1s,
Yeah. And on the other end, the Sabres have some great goaltending. So, it is shaping up to be kind of a battle there. Whether it's Alex Lyon, whether it's Pekka Luukkonen, both of them have put up pretty good stats for the Sabres this year. I'll go back and it's copying back from earlier, Greg. It's just limiting the mistakes in this one because, the Sabres are some of those slow, methodical teams that, I wouldn't necessarily call them like dynamic offensively by any means, but they have a lot of people from top to bottom that play really good, sound hockey. Rasmus Dahlin on the blue line, is a really good puck distributor. They also have, Samuelson, who we called out before the last game against the Sabres, is somebody to watch. And he had a big game against us. They just have a lot of players that will make you pay if you give them an opportunity to step in and make a big play. So for me, this is a game I think the Bolts need to be extra careful and clean up some of those mistakes we saw last night.
For sure. And one of my funny stats of this game is that these are two of the worst teams in the faceoff dot. So the Lightning actually have the advantage here in this with the dot.
Rare face-off advantage for the
Right.
Bolts at this one.
Only 3 teams under them, if I'm not mistaken. So, one of those advantages is the face-off dot. But the other thing is, the Sabres are actually a really good penalty killing team, 6th in the
Yeah.
league, and power plays are going to be tough against this team. So, I don't think goals are going to be easy to come by anymore. I think we faced them. What was it, February 3rd, maybe? Was the Sabres Lightning game, the first one, and it
Yeah.
was a tight one, man. 4-3. So this is not an easy game by any means, and a good test and important points. As we've talked about a lot lately, these are important points for the Lightning, and they need to keep winning. And this is where it begins, I guess, because the winning streak has kind of ended against the Canes here. So
Yeah, you still want to get the mojo back, I would say.
for sure. So yeah, important divisional points.
Yeah. Let's talk about Anthony Cirelli. There is a chance that he plays in this game. Jon Cooper said, or not Jon Cooper, but I think it was Rob Zettler, who's filling in for Jon Cooper, said there is a strong chance that Cirelli plays this coming Saturday. He missed the last 2 games, but he's been skating with the team fully in a non-contact jersey. Huge lineup addition if he is, Greg, because I think you can maybe go back to kind of your more normal, I would say, forward groupings. No disrespect to Scott Sabrin, who we love, and he's filled in great in the bottom line, and given the Lightning some good minutes when they've needed him. But there's a difference between going 11 forwards with Anthony Cirelli manning one of the points than having to rely on some of your depth players. And Cirelli played really well when he was, before he was hurt. I think he really elevated his game this year. There's a chance when Point was struggling that we looked at Cirelli and said, he's been the best player on the team this year. So for me, getting Cirelli back, that's going to be a huge boost for the Lightning, not just this game, but going forward, if he plays.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely enormous boost. You just inject one of the best defensive forwards in the game, into your lineup is massive. And he's going to be a key to having a good playoff run too. So definitely want to get him back, get him rolling again. And you know what? The other thing he does is he elevates Hagel a lot in my eyes as well. And not just defensively, just all around. I think they play really well together. And, one without the other is not bad, but both together is extra good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Greg. Do you want to try an over-under?
Yeah, I do. I'm going with the over, and it's because the previous game against this team was 4-3. I think both offenses are very strong, high-powered offenses with guys that are capable of doing some serious damage. Tage Thompson, Nikita Kucherov. So I'm going over. I don't even care what it is. I'm assuming it's 6.5.
It's not listed.
Oh,
but I'll go the under.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it can be 5.5, it can be 6.5. I think this is going to be more of a defensively sound game.
Okay.
All right. We'll be back Monday and tell you what happened in that game. We'll also have something for you Monday. Plus minus. We used to do it after games. We're switching it up a little bit. We're going to talk about the last week of Bolts hockey. We're going to start looking at the pluses, things that are going well, and the minuses, things that are going not well. It's going to kind of be our little Monday. I don't know what you call it, Greg. Little tradition, little tradition for you. Sure, why not? But we'll have that coming up for you Monday. We'll talk about what happened in the Sabres game and look ahead to the week ahead. In the meantime, be sure you guys are following us on social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, pretty much anywhere you scroll. Just search Locked On Lightning and you'll find us. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening in on your favorite podcasting platform. Helps us out with our numbers. Also, keeps you guys in the loop when we have new content for you. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Lightning. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Back with a new episode Monday. We will see you then.